Okay, guys, welcome. Thank you guys for joining. And I'm going to introduce myself real quickly. For those who may not know me, my name is Marissa Barrera, and we are hosting the weekly episode of Voices of Strength. This is episode number 11, and we are speaking about Payton Rogers, and her mom is here with us. Every week, we are holding space for a different family each week who have lost a loved one to police killings to share their truths and their experiences. Brandy, thank you so much for being here with us. If you could just, I gave a quick intro, if you would introduce yourself with us, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Brandy Rogers, sorry about the background noise there. I can't control the dog if you can hear him, but I'm the mother of Payton Rogers, who was killed May 11th, 2018 by Officer Brian Davis of the Marion Police Department.
Thank you for being here. And just with those watching, you know, you're going to see a different episode each week, but you'll see similarities. And focusing on Payton. Payton, she was young, 18-year-old. I have been following this story since it happened, and that's how I first met Brandy. And just another awful police killing where many injustices have been done. So Brandy, let's go ahead and talk. First of all, let's share Payton. Can you share her name, her age, the police department that killed her, and also the name of the officer? We'll start there.
Okay, she was 18 years old. She was killed exactly 1 week before her last day of her senior year of high school. She still did graduate on the high honor roll and she had already earned 30 college credits. The officer that killed her was Officer Brian Davis, and it was a vehicle crash. They said that Payton ran a red light, but they took no eyewitness statements, and the investigation was completed in 2 weeks. That I did my own personal investigation, and I proved there were no sirens, even though all media sources say that sirens were activated. And they finally came out with the speed, 6 months after the accident. They added one of the eyewitness statements to the report in July, but the completed report was handed over to the prosecutor May 25th. So they added an eyewitness statement after they had already completed the investigation, which makes more sense. Right.
So goodness, there's going to be a lot of details like that you guys are going to hear today about this story. And I hate to say it, a lot of these are normal routine. When they kill, they do a lot of awful stuff. Let's go ahead and start from, if you can share, you share a little bit about Payton. Is there anything else that you want to share about her family, what she was doing at the time besides school? I know she was working and just getting ready for college.
I always said, even before she died, that she was the purest soul. She was very kind-hearted and sweet, and she just she lit up the room, literally. But she had went to school all day, and then she went to her after-school job at Taco Bell until 10. She got off work. She picked her best friend, Believe, up, and they were actually heading back to Payton's grandmother's house to change clothes, but they never made it. That's when the cop crashed into her. Payton died instantly. Her best friend, Believe, who was the passenger, was lifelined by helicopter to a Fort Wayne hospital, and she did survive.
My goodness. How is she doing now?
She actually just had a baby. Yes, he's maybe 6 months old now. He's very cute little guy. Yep, she's doing okay. I mean, I'm sure that's something you're going to remember for the rest of your life. That's going to impact your life regardless.
Yeah. That was one of the things about it. Just seeing these two young girls straight from work, just doing even better than, girls that age. Not all of them are working and on track and have a job. And thanks for sharing that about Payton. I see it in her pictures. You just see that pure soul, as you mentioned, just beauty inside and out. And I've always said that when I've seen her photos. She was just a little older than my sister at that time. And it really, there's so many different police killings, but that one really stuck with me. Let's go ahead and start about how you heard. I know it was awful the way they contacted you. So if you want to share with everybody how you found out, and then we'll get into a little more detail of how exactly it happened.
Actually, that she was getting ready to move back in with us in Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne's about 45 minutes from Marion, and I usually drove to Marion on Friday and picked her up, and then drove her back on Sunday, because she usually had to work Sunday morning at Taco Bell very early. I don't know why they open so early, but that week she had called me and said that she was just going to stay in Marion that weekend so that she wasn't tempted to call off work, because me and her always had this great idea Saturday night for her to call off Sunday. Mm-hmm. So that week she decided she didn't do it. She was just going to stay in Marion. And then Friday night, about 6 o'clock, she texted me and told me to go ahead and come and get her when she got off work at 10. Mm-hmm. And I said, the truck's acting up. You're moving in next weekend anyway. Why don't we just wait? Mm-hmm. About 2 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock that morning, I get a phone call, and it was from Payton's grandmother, who she lived with in Marion. I answered the phone. She said that the coroner was there. I hung up the phone and threw it to the cushion beside me. I have no rational explanation as to why I did that. That's just what I did. I had probably made it 2 steps around my couch into my hallway. The phone rang again. It was Pat again. I answered, but this time it wasn't Pat's voice. It was an unfamiliar voice. It turned out to be the chaplain of Marion, Chaplain Mark Bardsley. And he asked how I was related to Payton. I said, I'm her mother. He didn't ask if I was at the home alone, if I had any health issues, if I had other children. He said, your daughter was in an accident and she did not survive her injuries. That was in the middle of the night. I screamed that scream. Hopefully you've never been unlucky enough to hear that scream. And then next thing I know, that my 12-year-old and my 9-year-old were on both sides of me. And we got in the car and we drove to Marion. And then when we get there to Pat's house, the chaplain was there. He walks up and hands me a license and her ring. And I'm like, it's not her, it's not her. They're like, it's her, trust us. And then later that night, well, not later, just a little bit later, we get a hold of the coroner, but the coroner had already left the city of Marion with her body before they even notified any family member that she was dead. And unlucky enough, the coroner drove her body to Fort Wayne, Indiana, the city that I had just drove from in the middle of the night in a mad rush to get to her. So it's an unavoidable fact that we would have passed them on the interstate going in the opposite direction.
My goodness. Gosh. So I do want to let you know there are, we have some people on, and there's some impacted families on and supporters. So people are leaving comments. I just, you could check them out later. Okay. Just for the people there, we might not catch your comments right away, but we will look at them. And I want to point out for people watching, you mentioned that scream, and I know that scream and I know many of the impacted families can relate to that of, when we're first finding out about our loved ones. Also hope other people don't ever have to experience that. Okay, so, and then what happened next? So go ahead and go through the kind of the timeline of what happened just in the beginning.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I told him I was okay. So after we find out that Payton was in Fort Wayne, we left Marion. This was right before dawn, and we head back to Fort Wayne in search of her kidnapped dead body. Get to St. Joe Hospital. They refused to let me see her body either. As a matter of fact, the first time I finally got to see her body was about 5 o'clock the next day at the funeral home. So the coroner, according to Indiana code, which is Indiana law, you are supposed to get a positive ID by DNA, fingerprints, dental records, or a positive family ID. Coroner Chris Butch in Marion, Indiana did none of the above. He said he identified her by her driver's license. And then after we seen, I heard they did not take any eyewitness statements. I got a screenshot from one of the people that did see the accident. They said that Payton's light was green and that the officer didn't have his sirens on. I talked to a second eyewitness, John Owen, who was a retired Navy veteran. He said that Payton was stopped beside him at the red light. So the police are trying to say that she ran a red light that she was already stopped at, with a great big dumpster making it a blind intersection. So now they didn't take eyewitness statements, and both eyewitness statements contradict the police's narrative of the accident. So red flags, red flags, red flags.
Red flags. Yeah. So they immediately released their narrative, which we find out now is always going to favor the cops. Also be a lie, lies. And but that's great that you got a hold of those witnesses and were able to get that truth fast, right? Really fast. Sometimes I know some families aren't able to, and we know that they don't ever want the witnesses to give their testimony and their accounts because if they're not going to favor the cops. Gosh, that's just awful, but that's good that you got that to get that truth quick.
Statement is I have still yet to see it on any police report or anywhere. As a matter of fact, Indiana State Police told her not to give her statement to anyone except for them. And I still do not see her statement anywhere.
Gosh, that's just, yeah, they definitely do that. Unfortunately, we find that out the hard way, that we can't depend on their words.
And I found that whoever gets the first report out to the media wins.
Yes.
That's your first impression, and your first impression sticks with people. So if that's the first thing that they hear, that's the story they tend to go with. In public opinion. That's
actually just, I spoke to a impacted family, they're not new, but they're new to me, an impacted family member earlier is my first time. And we actually just repeated that same thing. And what I said is, I know if in my hometown where my brother was killed, if people hear my brother's name and they don't know us, they're going to think of that first narrative that was released. And we all know that they do that to assassinate the character. And, you can't really get with Payton's. I'm like, you can't really, how could you, that was a car accident. So it's different than them murdering at the hands, but how it just shows they still are going to lie about that, and for her to be stalked.
Yes, they, immediately it was, and the coroner had taken her body to Marion General Hospital here in Marion. Her body was in the morgue for 30 to 40 minutes. Now, I was told by a little birdie that there's a book in the morgue where they record the deceased body's name, the time they arrived, the time they left, and there's an area that if there was any procedures performed on the body. I'm mother's intuition, whatever you want to call it, Coroner Chris Butchie performed a drug screen on her at Marion General Hospital when it came back negative. So they had to rush her to Fort Wayne because they had to find a way to blame her for the accident.
My goodness.
I guarantee you. I know that's what happened.
And, it's not far-fetched. People that don't know about stuff like this might see that as like, but we know this stuff happens, and that absolutely sounds like what happened. And mother's intuition.
Marion General Hospital's morgue for 30 to 40 minutes if you intended on transporting it to Fort Wayne that night. You would have transported her body from the ambulance into the coroner's vehicle at the hospital instead of taking her to the morgue, then leaving the morgue. It makes no sense. Why would you do that?
Yeah. But like you said, we find out they do this stuff to buy themselves time and find a way to blame the victims.
Oh yes, and the coroner left the coroner left the city of Marion about 1:20, and that's exactly the time that the chaplain was knocking on Peyton's grandmother's door. So that was not just a coincidence. That was a coordinated effort. We having problems?
Mine's good. Gosh. And okay, so what happened next? You know, I know so much happens in the beginning and everywhere. So go ahead and feel free wherever you want to pick up.
We've already been over. He left the city with her body. Of course, I started making noise all over social media immediately. I was invited. Well, first of all, they had to let me view the dash cam video. So I went to the police station to view the dash cam video, and I took an audio recorder and I recorded it and uploaded the entire meeting to Facebook. You can hear the chief of police say, "No video recording." I said, "Oh, no video." And I didn't lie. I wasn't video recording. I was audio. But that was a big turning point right there, because you could hear the officer's engine revving up and everything, but you could hear no sirens whatsoever on the dash cam video. So when I uploaded that to Facebook, that was a real turning point right there. And the chief of police, Angela Haley, also told me that I couldn't hear the sirens on the dash cam video because the officer's car windows were up.
Stupid.
So if you're driving in the winter and have your car windows up, you might not be able to hear police sirens, just so you know.
Yeah. So that just, some of their lies, as you know, some of these lies, and I noticed them in different cases as they come up, just, they don't even sound good. Like, that's retarded.
And I thought to myself, am I really smart or are they really stupid?
I remember
if I was in their position and I decided I was gonna lie, which I would never do, I could have come up with much, much better lies. I mean, like, it seems at times they didn't even really try, but yet they still got away with it.
Gosh, I remember I seen that recording, the one where you stuck it, and that's when you realize, like, they weren't on. And that does matter. That matters so much. I mean, one, if she was already parked, if she was, not driving right there already, you crashed into her. But two, you didn't have sirens on. That's the biggest thing. Like, you didn't have sirens on to alert. You could have killed, you already killed a young lady, and you could have killed more people.
And then one of the, let's see, Ron Mary, deputy coroner or something like that, come back with they could have responded with lights only or lights and sirens. Well, here's the thing. If sirens were not warranted, then why is driving 66 miles per hour in a 20-mile-per-hour zone warranted?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to drive 46 miles over the speed limit, then you absolutely are required to have your sirens activated.
Yeah. And nope. Gosh.
He was promoted to detective, by the way. Yes.
So the killing officer was later promoted.
Yes, he's a detective now.
My goodness. And we know, but again, for people who may not know, this is normal protocol. This is normal routine. Officers often get promoted, rewarded, and they get paid vacation right after.
He didn't get pulled over. He was responding. Another officer, Officer Brady, had someone pulled over, and both suspects were in custody. They were already in handcuffs, but one of the suspects allegedly discarded narcotics. So Officers Davis, the one that crashed into Payton, and the officer that was behind him, Melton, were responding to assist an officer to an arrest. So they were going to look for narcotics that had been thrown out of the car. So Payton was not the one pulled over. She was not the one at the original traffic stop that had discarded the narcotics. Payton had went to school. She had went to work, and she was driving through downtown Marion, Indiana, where the speed limit is 20 miles per hour. And she was entitled to the protection of the Marion Police Department, and they failed her.
Gosh. And to me, like, I'm like, okay, this is a clear case, it's clear, and you would think they would do the right thing, and it's not anything that really could be disputed here, besides their lives, which we know. But you would think a case like this, especially, they couldn't say like, oh, she had a weapon or she tried to attack. They couldn't try to use a background against her. So you would think that they would make things right at least one time,
It was a car accident. It was an accident. That's their story. Well, me and Payton are paying for Officer Brian Davis's actions. If it was just an accident, shouldn't he also have to be responsible for his own actions? So we're taking the weight of everyone's actions that night.
Yeah. And if he were a regular, person like us, he would have to be responsible for it.
If I was driving 66 miles downtown Marion, Indiana, and crashed and killed a cop or a cop's kid, do you think that I would get promoted at my job? No, I would be sitting in a jail cell still to this day.
Yep. Yeah. And that's absolutely how it is. We unfortunately know that. And I've seen that's one of the ways that people get killed by police. There's shootings, there's at the hands, different things, but car accidents, that's just one of them. And they're supposed to be an accident. So
I've met, and guess usually, and of course, people always tag me in the same. What is it? Rojas, the 12-year-old little boy. His mom's Joanne Rojas, I believe. He was walking and was killed by a sheriff. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I seen. Yeah,
I think I'm getting dementia. But yeah,
and for us, like, we go, there are so many. So even if we're like, yeah, I've heard of that, well, we might not, the name and the face might not come. So there's just too many to keep up with.
Which is what, 35 minutes from Marion. 2 months after Payton's death, another officer, Justin Gorney, crashed into 22-year-old Erica Flores and killed her. He was doing 94 and a 40, no sirens. But of course, their police chief actually had him fired for not driving with due regard for the safety of all others. And
he did get fired. He did.
Yeah, he did get fired. No charges were filed, but he did get fired.
And that's still not enough.
No, it's still not enough.
We have a couple comments that I am going to read. I have Miss Grant. She said, moving her body to a major city, were there procedures performed? And then she also is asking, was the officer drug and alcohol tested?
Oh, interesting. Good comment, because yes, they were both, he was drug tested. They said that the breathalyzer was 0. His blood was drawn the same night as Payton's blood. Payton's toxicology results were in the report. The officers are still not in the report. They've never been added to the police report. So according to the police, that there was no signs of intoxication, but there were also sirens activated according to the police also. So we'll never really know.
Yeah. And it's hard to, even with like reports and stuff, we know they're already releasing lies. I don't trust them. How could we, after it's happened to us where it was a complete lie and then it hasn't been made right and corrected?
I'm sure other families, I know you witnessed firsthand the harassment that our family went through here in Marion. I mean, like, I at times I couldn't even believe it myself. The coroner's brother stole stuff from Payton's memorial, publicly posted it on Facebook.
This was the same jerk that was trying to say she was high, probably.
Right. Yeah.
I hated that guy. When I was writing that article,
I called him Ugly Toad. That was my nickname for him.
He is a scumbag. Yeah. yeah, if you want to share a little more about that, the memorial and just things you guys went through.
Oh, yes, people, there was fake pages. One was Ashley Drake that just said the most horrid things, because I recorded every phone call. I recorded my phone call with the coroner. His answers in that phone call did not match the Marion General Hospital paperwork or the MPD case report. I recorded 2 Indiana State Police officers as I was trying to file a complaint against the Indiana State Police officer who did the investigation for lying about his investigation. Both of them refused. Marion Police Department stated it was never their investigation, but yet on May 31st, they went to Lozier's Towing, where Payton's car was, to do a follow-up to their investigation. How can you follow up to an investigation that was never yours to begin with?
Yeah.
Because if I would ask MPD questions, they would say I needed to talk to Indiana State Police. If I asked Indiana State Police questions, they told me I needed to talk to Marion Police Department. So basically, they called in the other police department to do the investigation just as an extra way to give me the runaround, prevent from giving me answers. And they're all in it together. I mean, there's no other way. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Why, if they call in another Indiana State Police to do the investigation, is the Marion prosecutor the one that gets to determine if charges should be filed? The same prosecutor that works every day side by side with all the officers in the department.
Yep.
It makes no sense.
They're literally on the same team, so it doesn't make sense. And we've been shouting this, we shout it, and I feel like people don't listen still. And it's never going to change if it's like this, how it's set up. It's not set up. It's set up to protect them.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you guys get any support when this happened? How was community towards your family?
There was a big portion of the community that was absolutely and totally against me, because I would stand on the corner where she was killed 2 to 3 times a week for an hour a day with Justice for Payton signs, demanding justice, all this. I did get support from the community also. I don't know that I would say 50-50.
Yeah.
Maybe more like 30-70. But my support grew more. And there's a lot of people I know that follow me and watch me that don't comment, or like they're paying attention, but they really don't say anything about it. But they're still very interested. And I think I've had lots of people that have come up and apologized to me because their first thoughts were, exploit, which is something, let me point that out. Of course, I was always accused, oh, you're just trying to get money. Yes, I set it all up for my daughter to be at that corner on that night to get killed by a cop, just so that I could try to profit from her death. Do people understand the words? I mean, I don't think that they think about things before they say them.
Yeah,
because it absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. Like, if I'm that determined to where I'm going to stand on the corner where she was killed holding the sign 2 to 3 times a week, if I'm that committed, people might just want to pay attention. Maybe I know something that they don't.
Yeah. That's something that I think all of us families can also relate to. I think we've all been told that you just want money hungry families. Stupid as hell. We would absolutely love to have our family members back.
Yes.
Or even before the money, we would absolutely love for these officers to be charged and held accountable. Absolutely. Actually, a fair investigation. That came up in my conversation earlier too. And, I don't know what to say about these people besides they're dumb and just ignorant. I don't know what they think.
Yeah, because man, I did get a Channel 6 reporter, Stephanie Wade, to come down and meet with me at Payton's grave. And according to her, there's only so much that the news can legally report. But I did get to say in that interview that there were no sirens, And the last thing she did mention in that interview is that she requested the dash camera from Marion Police Department, but they said that they would not be releasing it. And since I've been doing my research and stuff, I have found out that there is no law. It is up to the independent police departments. Even the dash cam video that we did see, if there was one, it does not have to be the original footage. There's no law that says that they have to show us the original unedited footage. So they can edit the footage all they want before they show it to the family or to the public.
That's just
So
sick.
what is the point of body cameras and dash cameras if there's no law stating that we get to see the unedited footage?
Yeah. Yeah. What's the point? It's, gosh. And then I just want to say hello again to the people watching. Thank you guys. Seeing impacted families. And, you know, this show, the reason I started this is that we could actually get on and have the conversations about our experiences and what we really went through. I know, you know, a lot of families, you know, here and there have spoken, but my hope for this show is that, you know, eventually we're going to have a whole bunch right there. And then our stories are essentially very similar, almost the same.
Today was a very good day for me because I wrote a book, and I know you know that. Well,
Yes.
On Amazon, I can send it as a gift to someone. So I sent it to Chief Angela Haley of the Marion Police Department, and she received that today. Amazon affirmed to me that it was handed over to the receptionist at the front desk of Marion Police Department.
Yay.
So I sent her a copy of my book.
You know what? That's so awesome. And I definitely want to share a little more with your book, but I seen that post that you're like, I'm going to send it as a gift. So I think, and I'm like, yeah, Brandy, go get him. Like, do that.
I got it today. I was very excited about that.
That's awesome. Yeah. So your book, it's on my 2021 list. And right now it's kind of hard with my baby. He don't let me read lately. He's smacking everything. But yeah, share about your book. I want to say too, I'm very proud of you. I know I seen back then when you mentioned I'm going to start this book, and I've seen you complete it. And I think that's awesome. So yeah, share with us.
Yes, I ended up like turning into so much more than I had originally anticipated, but I really, and that's another, when I said I wanted to send it as a gift, 30% was excuse my French, the bold asshole in me, because I'm very bold, and I just thought it would be hilarious for her to receive that as a gift. The other 70% of me wants them, I hope at least one of them does read it, because I want them to experience it through my eyes, to see through my eyes exactly what happened that night, what happened through the investigation. And I backed up everything I said with sources, Indiana law. I mean, like, there's no way you can read the book and dispute that there was criminal actions that took place. It did happen. I don't care how many ways they want to twist it. It happened. They lied. They conspired together to cover up the facts about the death of my daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? And that's you know, just again, much props. That's a lot. That's a big task, writing a book. Like, and then I did see the comment too. You had a review on there, and I seen that even before you said you seen it. I had already seen that because I have yours in my thing, and I'm like, you know what? That's
and I didn't know the person. That was really important to me because, you know, like friends of mine could got on there and wrote a reply. That's great. I would have appreciated it. Absolutely. Yeah. This person I didn't know. And I think that made it that much more special.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I didn't know the person, and it was a very good review. So
yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. That makes me have my, you know, the good feels from that. That's so great. Again, like that book is awesome that you completed that, you know, and it's going to always be there. It's
Yes.
just your story, your testimony, and that's important. So, and you know what? You inspired me because I have a book it's in the process of I'm writing it right now. So I'm like, you know what? I love to see other families, you're making strides or just pushing. And so, yeah, you inspired me with that.
And I made it so much harder than it had to be.
I'm like, oh shit, Brandy got. I think that's so awesome. Yeah, I wanted to ask you too. So, okay, so we have, Payton, she had siblings too. And I just want to know about the family too, how the family, earlier conversation with the family had is how it tears the families apart, and not just by stealing our loved one, but it causes other issues, and everybody's suffering and hurting a different way. So if you can share how your family, you've been impacted.
A big thing was, especially I started right away being very loud on social media, voicing my concerns. I never threatened anybody, especially any police officers, never threatened suicide, nothing like that. My own mother had me committed to Cornerstone simply because she was embarrassed. I mean, I know that was the reason. She was embarrassed of me for speaking. I was embarrassed of her for not. Because a lot of our family members, my dog is out here trying to go crazy. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But where was I? But our family members do not respond the same way that all of us do. Like my mom has always been a big police supporter. Other members of my family have always supported the police. So their first instinct is, oh, the police wouldn't lie. The police, blah, 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 blah. The police have lied continuously. So it does disrupt families, and you do lose. As a matter of fact, I don't speak to anyone in my family at all.
So how was that pretty shortly after it happened that your mom did that with?
Oh yeah, that's May. As a matter of fact, it's Memorial Day weekend, and so Payton died May 11th. May 25th, they came out and said no charges would be filed against the officer. And like 2 or 3 days later is when I was committed to Cornerstone.
My goodness. Gosh, I'm sorry to hear that.
72-hour hold, I was released in less than 24 hours. So
because they didn't have any basis to hold you.
They had no basis to hold me whatsoever.
My goodness.
Every paper was a lie.
My goodness, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that that happened to you after this. And I do like the timing too. I want to point out, like, when they kill our loved ones, and then they, months or however long it takes to find the officers to be justified. So that would be when they either justify it or when they charge an officer, but they always justify it. And that's just another stab. It's like we lose our loved ones again, especially if you're not familiar with how that's routine. A lot of people, the way our loved ones are killed, we're like, how could they not charge them? Of course they're going to charge them. They, were wrong, but we all get smacked with that. So that's disappointing to hear that happen to you, especially, during that time. And she was the big sister. Payton was the big sister.
Payton and Austin are younger siblings. Payton is 15. She's my middle one. I want to choke her. I mean, they seem to be doing okay, but you'll never really know. I mean, we don't talk about it every day. Austin plays his video games, and we're trying our best to go on with life, but there's a big portion of us that are gone. Payton is gone. There's nothing that will fill that void. Nothing will bring her back. Nothing will erase the memories of the evil that was done to her or her family afterwards. And the fact that we live in the same city, and anytime we're out driving in our car, we can pass any one of the cops that took part in the conspiracy to cover up the facts of her death.
That's a hard thing. had to move from the hometown where it happened, I seen seen those officers possibly, every time a cop car drives by, it could be the officer that killed our loved one.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
horrible.
Yeah.
My goodness. Yeah, and with the kids like that, it's in my family, it's like that too. A lot of and our family is in general is like we don't talk about it a lot, and but we can be in the same room, we could all be knowing that that's what we're feeling, and
The
it's
elephant in the
hard.
room, right?
It's hard. But it does, I always think about the kids too, they're growing up and it's very traumatic.
I remember the night it happened. At some point on our drive, I did say out loud to both of them, I said, "I'm so sorry this is your life." Because I had lost a son before. But he was a baby. I knew Payton was going to be excruciatingly worse. But I also knew that for the rest of their life, this was going to be a big, big impact on them.
Yeah.
And I did tell them I was so sorry that this was their life.
That's horrible. And they were there hearing when you first heard it, right?
Oh yeah, they as a matter of fact, they knew even at 12 and 9 what the scream was, because all of a sudden they appeared on both sides of me with this look, and all of a sudden, Kaden, she just said with like a scared hesitation, she's like, "Granny Pat." So they knew someone had died. They just didn't know who had died. So like they were basically waiting for a name.
Yeah.
So they even knew what the scream meant,
My goodness.
And if they would
Yeah.
have simply just sent Fort Wayne police to my door, I would have been able to sit the kid, maybe I would have been able to sit the kids down and explain to them, we're going to be okay, but something bad happened. I didn't get the chance to do that. He didn't even ask me if I had children in the house. He just decided he was going to tell me on the telephone. He could have said, "There was an accident. We need you to come." No, he said,
Yeah.
"Your daughter was in an accident and she did not survive her injuries." I mean, he wasn't new to the job. He's been the police chaplain with Marion, Indiana since 1996. He was the president of chaplains for the state of Indiana for many years. He has been trained in the proper procedure for making death notifications. So his choice was intentional.
What's his full name again?
Chaplain Mark Bardsley.
Yeah, that's the one. I still remember it when I was writing that article in 2018 and I looked his name up and I just seen the picture and I got the evil, like just bad person type of feeling. And it really creeped me out that day. I just started getting the chills, like, my goodness, this is like really evil people that we're dealing with, and evil people in power. I'm going to read a couple comments. Let's see. We have Karen Sutherland. Her son was killed in 2020. She said it's a bunch of bullshit that they get to choose what they want to release, but yet our lives are completely open and free for all of them to invade our privacy. The biggest gang in America. And yeah, that's exactly what it is. Biggest gang. And it made me think back to how you said earlier that they kidnapped your daughter's body after, because that's something, I guess just over time we realized what it really is. I'm like, they get to kill our loved ones, kidnap and take their bodies, and then for the autopsies, those are horrible. I don't know how many impacted family members have seen their loved ones' autopsies, but what they do to the bodies afterwards too, to find out how they died when we already pretty much know.
Yeah, like no matter what had happened, even if, let's say Payton was 100% at fault, she lost her life and I lost my daughter. Wasn't that punishment enough? But no, and I've said it before too, because I was naive back then. If they would have let me see her body for just 60 seconds, I didn't even have to touch her. If they would have just let me see her, I probably would have never doubted anything that the police said. So they were their own worst enemy, because that was the first red flag there. And then after continue it. Oh, by the way, the place that did the autopsy, there was no time listed on the autopsy report. According to autopsy protocol, it is required that the time be on the autopsy. So there you go. Why did they take her to that specific place to get the autopsy?
Gosh,
You
so
know,
many things, so many, and
so many.
I'm sure that's in your book too, right?
Yep. Oh yes.
That's great. That's,
Yep.
oh goodness. Yeah. Gosh, I just, every time I talk to a different family, and I'm more familiar with Payton's story than some of the other ones, but I want people to see like the extra hurt, the pain, the extra unnecessary stuff that they don't need to do, but they do. Just like you said, if they would have let you see her body for a few moments, it could have been different. And that makes me think about the families that accept the narrative, or that, don't think to question it. And, how many people out there don't know the truth? You had to do all this stuff, recording, and like really put yourself out there to get some answers. So that's definitely admirable that you were able to do that.
I mean, I had no absolute proof that the police were involved with this, but I had someone message me. It was a heroin addict, and he said that him and his girlfriend went into an abandoned house here in Marion, and that they found the stuff stolen from Payton's memorial, and it was set up in a satanic ritual. I wanted to go down there so bad. You have no idea how bad I wanted to go. But something inside me said, if you walk in that house, it will be the last thing that you ever do.
Oh,
And
shit,
I ended up going the following Monday to the prosecutor's office with all the screenshots, the address of the house, and everything. But still, yet to this day, I've heard nothing about it. But
wow. Dude,
so
that's creepy.
if you are going to do stuff like that, I very much recommend that you follow your instincts. Because I recorded many people and uploaded it to Facebook. My main goal was to expose the corruption and prove that they were lying, which I believe that I did.
Gosh, and sometimes, that's like the only thing we could do is share the truth, our truth. Right. But yeah, you're like, I proved it. Like, I proved it, and it's written there too. So I think that's good. And not all of us, the families have the capability to do that stuff. So it's to me, it's like they really have been getting away with this. They think they can get away with it over and over and over.
Oh, yeah, this was not their first rodeo. They were very comfortable. I mean, like, they didn't even hesitate. They just, as far as I'm concerned, they've been doing this for quite some time now.
Just playing the people.
Uh-huh.
Gosh, it's so crazy. So what were your thoughts on the police or your experience? Were you a supporter like your family, or before this?
I didn't. Okay, let's see. I was never like a police supporter, but I would say that even if I was completely legal driving in my car, this is the best way I can sum it up. Even if my license and plates and everything was legal and there was a cop behind me, I still felt anxious just because they were the police. Yep. So I did recognize their authority. I recognized their badge. They made me nervous, you know what I mean? Even because, they're the cops. Yeah. And now, I'm not even gonna lie, we drive past and I'm like, oh, look at these bitches over here. Excuse me. Like, a bank robber can't arrest me for shoplifting. So,
right.
Yeah. I no longer recognize their authority or their badge.
Yeah. I speaking about this earlier, people think that we're just money hungry. We're just cop haters. We're just mad that I've had people actually like, you're just mad that they killed your brother. Well, duh, what the hell?
Right.
And then, we're expected to be kind and respectful and wait for the process. We're expected to be, those bad people while they're doing all this crazy shit to us. So, cop hater, I'm like, yeah, I'll take that now. I caught a conversation between some impacted families, and I seen an impacted mother telling another impacted mother this week, I'm like basically tired of all these cop haters. And it's because her family's in law enforcement too, but I didn't say anything, but it made me pose the question, was your family treated any differently? No, it wasn't. Like, so I don't know how people can get angry with us, because really we're doing what's right. We're doing the right thing. We're
Right.
doing what's morally right. So
What is that I posted it a couple times. Many will hang their head one day when they realize the evil they defended and the heroes they ridiculed.
yes, absolute truth. I'm just gonna scroll through some of these comments real quick and just see if there's anything. I just want to say hello real quick to the other impacted family members. We had Oscar, Urbina, Barbara Akamoto, Karen, and these are the ones leaving comments: Fabiola, Rosalius, Christine Lee Rose. Thank you guys for all being here. Thank you guys for listening to the stories. And I see you guys out there, supporting other families. And at this point, we got to do that for each other. Maria Kofinko. And sorry if I missed anybody, but thank you guys for being here and sharing this. Brandy, so what's going, do you guys have a civil lawsuit going, or is there anything?
Yeah, well, Payton's dad did, but it turns out, so they actually offered us $5,000 was their
$5,000? They offered you guys a settlement of $5,000?
Yeah, they offered us $5,000.
What in the fuck?
Yeah, and I think they ended up settling for like $75,000 for a wrongful death. But they should have, like I said from the beginning, you needed a civil rights attorney, not a wrongful death attorney. But no one ever, when other family members are out for money, it's kind of hard to.
My goodness. That's crazy. I've heard of some really disrespectful offers, but I have never heard a 5,000 offer. Yeah, and that's something. So when people are killed by police, some people assume that, oh, they're going to be charged, if they did wrong. But no, guys, criminal cases against cops don't work for us when our loved ones are killed. We can't make the DA, as you mentioned earlier too, we can't make the DA press charges. That's who it's on. And the DA works hand in hand with the police and the officers. But we are basically only able to have a civil lawsuit for wrongful death, even when when it's completely a murder, and yeah, like my brother's case, it's filed under wrongful death, and that doesn't sit right with me, and it's not enough, but this is the system.
Yeah, because there's civil rights violations. Civil rights is the best way to go.
Goodness. So okay, is there anything else that we haven't shared that you want to cover? Anything about Payton? Anything else? I know there's a lot, but
yeah, I can't really think of anything right off the top of my head. I have the Justice for Payton Rogers group page on Facebook. And in the announcement section, I have many of the recordings and stuff like that. One of the news, Stephanie Way, when she came down. And it's a never-ending fight to get justice for our loved ones.
And I will share those once we close up. I'll share them in the caption so people can see the page. I'm going to share your book on there also. And when I post this to YouTube, I'll have those links there too. I do have we have Miss Grant. She says, can you say the chaplain's name again? It looks like he's been a county commissioner for 4 terms.
Yes, Chaplain Mark Bardsley. Yes, I had noticed he had been a commissioner also.
So many conflicts of interest.
The coroner Chris Butchie, is also a captain with Marion Police Department and was at the time of Payton's death. So
You know what?
they called in Indiana State Police to do the investigation, but the coroner was a captain with Marion Police Department.
Yes. So, okay, that's, thank you for putting that out again. That's something that I looked, when I looked at his picture, that's where, so the coroner who did all this funky shit, guys, was also a police officer. As a police officer, was it a chief, you said? Or what was it?
A captain.
A captain. And his picture posted on the PD as an employee. What the hell? That was a crazy one that I hadn't quite seen yet. Usually the coroner with the sheriffs I've heard, but not like being a coroner and then also work, a captain.
Conflict of interest, definitely. Yes.
Oh gosh. It just makes my stomach hurt. Let's see. Christine Lee Rose. It's another way they tell us our lives and the lives of our loved ones don't matter. It shows how low police and the cohorts are. And how outrageous. How is this even allowed? Yeah, those, so many things, so many wrongs. So is there any advice or you would like to share with any impacted families? There are some newer ones on here, and I'm sure
I would say be bold. I mean, I guess it does come down. Of course, I'm not going to say it's not dangerous. I'm still breathing. I can't guarantee you that if people took the same actions in the same route that I did, I mean, I can't guarantee your safety, but things are never going to change if we just can be quiet and let it go on. And for me, it just wasn't even an option. I was going to expose them.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen lots of your videos, lots of your stuff. And, that's how I am now too. I'm like, we gotta attack them. We got to, with the truth, we're not out here trying to shoot them, trying to kill them.
Right.
And it is dangerous for us, how you shared, but you're still breathing, but it is still dangerous. The people, we're up against real killers. And
always follow your instincts, because I wanted to go to that house really bad.
Gosh, that's creepy, that what you shared. Okay, Brandy, let's see. I'm gonna check real quick if we got anything else, and then we'll close it up. I do thank you for coming on and sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's see. And then we got one more. Have you been harassed or stalked by them? And yeah, you shared a little bit about that earlier, right? About what?
Yeah. I mean, we have a memorial bench, and last time I had stopped there, someone put 200 some type of screws on there. You know what I mean? It's just little stuff. I haven't actually been attacking it's not that I'm attacking them. I haven't been as vocal about it. I've been talking about other stuff here recently, but you never know when the mood will strike me. So
yeah. Yeah, no, I see everything you talk about, and I do appreciate your stuff. Not everybody, not everybody's going to,
right.
But I mean, I've learned a lot from you too. So keep doing what you're doing. Okay, then. So we'll go ahead and close this up. Let you get back to your night. Yeah. One more person just saying thank you for sharing your daughter's story, and yeah, this helps us to talk, get our stories out, and then also to share with other families, because all of us are in this fight. So definitely thank you for being here. And we'll go ahead and close up. So Brandy, I'll see you on Facebook, and keep in touch, keep me posted with anything.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you guys for being here.